everybody. Welcome to another edition of Roller Pigeon Evolution. I'm your host Smitty and my co-host Danny Castillo. Say hi to the folks, Danny.
What's up, guys? So
today we are going to talk about building a bird. This is the Build Your Bird series. So what build a bird means is we're talking about the importance of type, how it affects the role, and its importance. So let's go through it kind of little by little. I've got some specimens right here of birds that I had programs and projects working with and what the results of those projects yielded. So how does type affect role? If you got birds that are long or longer cast in the role, it is going to affect the birds negatively. If you got birds that are short cast in the role or short cast in the body, how is it going to affect the role? That's what we're going to talk about today. And there's all different types of birds, and people have got all different types of birds, and we want to talk about how can you impact the type on your birds at home, and how is it going to affect the role of your birds once you do impact that type. So I've got quite a few examples, and these examples we're going to go through one by one, and we're going to show you how I've built these birds and how you can build a bird. So the first one that we're going to start off down here is with these opal bars. So my opal bars were, as far as roll goes, they were actually pretty good. Now I wanted to make the roll obviously faster, so I focused on type. My roll was never bad. It was a good roll, but it just wasn't as fast as I wanted it to be. So I pretty much dwindled down to certain pairs that I liked and that were consistent. And so now I'll give you an example. I have this cockbird right here, and he's a pretty big bird. He's been feeding babies, so that's why he's all dirty on the face there. But he's a pretty big bird. If you look at my hands, I've got pretty decent sized hands, and he's a big bird. Now, one thing I didn't like about him, if you look right here, he's really long in the tail. So from the tip of his feathers to the end of his tail, it's got a little too much length for me. So when the bird is in the roll and he flips over, if that's sticking out, it's going to create drag. So what you want to do is create the smallest amount of drag on the roll as possible. When that bird is into the roll, the less stuff sticking out, the faster that bird is going to go. Okay? So this bird, from a cockbird standpoint, has a lot of muscle. It's a good sized bird, but he's a little too big for a kit bird. So he's a breeder type. He's a breeder body type. He's not a kit bird body type. So let's take him and put him up here. So I wanted to put him with a hen that would correct all of his flaws. And his flaws being his length of neck and his length of tail. He carries good muscle. Body-wise, he's good, but he's just a little too long in the neck and a little too long in the tail. So if my theory is correct, which is hens dictate type, I took a hen that was way smaller. Look at my hands and look at her. She's tiny compared to him. She has a smaller beak. She has a rounder head. She's just a better body for a kit type. So for a kit bird type, she's what I want. And I'm breeding kit birds. I'm not producing breeders. So you look at these two together. If you get off the wall there. Huge difference. She's like a sparrow and he's like a pterodactyl. Huge. Huge difference. So I put this pair together. This is the result. There's the hen on the right, there's the cock on the left. They are a perfect balance of the cock and that hen. So that hen dominated that mating, because if you look at the babies...
Can you grab one?
Oh, sure. Let's look at the little female. So tip to tail, big difference. Head, shape, beak, everything. It's the hen's type. It's not the cock's type. And just to tell you, the hen has two clear eyes. Babies came out with two clear eyes. The cock has two bull eyes. The babies came out with two clear eyes, even with white all over their heads. Even with white all over their heads, she controlled their type.
That goes to show you that the hens control the type.
Exactly. Look at the tip to tail of the youngsters. Again, nowhere close to where the parents were. They're closer to where the mother is. So, and you look overall, the neck is shorter. Everything is exactly the mother's type. So take a good look at those. Now look up top. look at the parents. Which bird controlled the type in that mating?
The hen.
It's very obvious. So, now this is the other thing. I took these birds, this is not the first generation, I took the first generation off of this pair and I flew them. I've had these birds, this cock I bred in 2013. I've had these birds for quite a long time. This is the first year that the roll that they produced was probably, I would say from a 1 to 10 rating, the first period that I rolled these birds, they were probably a 5 in my estimation, and they moved from a 5 to a 9.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's a huge increase in quality of roll based on changing the body type of these birds. So, another example, this is a Gene Geigel cock that I have, and if you look at him, he's long as a Cadillac, a very long bird. He's got a nice head on him, nice shape. But he's just really too long for a kit bird. He's too big for a kit bird. So I wanted to get something and reduce that size. He has everything he should have, just has too much of it. So if you look at him up there, very long, beautiful bird, but he's just got too much of everything. So for a kit bird, he wouldn't work. So I took this little hen, a lot smaller, much better type, and I wanted to breed some birds that carried her type with all of his benefits. So you take a look at them, big difference in the two birds in type, and let's look at some of their babies. This is one of the babies right here. You look at the length on them, way better than the father. Came out, and it's funny, if you look at the father has two orange eyes. The baby came out with a bull eye and an orange eye. Mm-hmm. The mother has a bull eye.
Right.
So again, you look at influence and how she influenced that mating, she dominated that mating. Here's the nest mate to it. Again, look at the difference. Perfectly balanced, nice head, two clear eyes, really good muscle. The hen doesn't have muscle like that, the cock did. It transferred that muscle to the offspring. The offspring have everything the father had to offer, but it's all encompassed in the mother's type. So look at the babies, look up top, look at the parents. Perfect example of build your bird. So I was able to build a better bird by putting these birds together because these two young birds are better than the parents in body. Now these birds right here were designed to be breeders. I'm not gonna fly those birds. Those are breeders. You look at the muscle content on those birds, they're a lot more volume and muscle. That's what I'm gonna use to produce kit birds. So then, now I have these birds right here. Those are some of my Blue Star family. This Blue Star cock I've flown, and he was really good in the air.
He's actually the one in one of our first videos.
Exactly. So, but I didn't like the fact that he was really kind of small. So I wanted to get him on a hen that had a little more volume to her and something that really stood out as far as the way her overall conformation was and what she looked like. He's a great bird.
But this is the cock bird here.
Right. And this was a kit bird.
Yep.
That became a breeder from a cock side, which I usually don't do anymore. But so I took him and I wanted to put him to a hen that would give him a little more volume and would really increase the posture. He's got a great posture,
yeah.
But I wanted to get a bird that would really enhance what he had. So I took this hen, much bigger volume hen. She's about as big as he is. And I wanted to increase the volume in the body of those birds as far as muscle. So I put them together. And if you look at her posture and her overall, how she stands, stunning.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna show you the first baby that came out of this mating. This is a little hen. If you look, she is just really stunning. Blue checker badge, very typey. She carries good muscle, nice bird. So look at her. She is exactly a replica of her mother. You look at the father, look up top. No, you look at the mother, boom. She is a replica of that hen. So follow the type. Now, so if the hen dominates type, that cock bird that comes off of that mating should also follow that type. Let's take a look. So this is the youngster, which is the nest mate to that bird. Again, we were trying to get a bigger bird. Look what we got. We got a bigger cock bird. Exactly what I wanted for. But then look at body conformation, and if hens dictate type, that body conformation should be exactly like that hen's. Let's see if it is. You tell me. Boom. What do you think? It's exactly like the hens. There's the youngster. Let's look at the mother again. Boom. Match. Hens dictate type. Build your bird. Hens dictate type. I can say it again and again. If you want to change your overall type of your birds, focus on your hens. And you can literally dictate what your loft is going to look like, cocks and hens, just by focusing on your hens. Take your best hens and roll with them. So, lastly, I have a project that actually Richard Apodaca started with many years ago. This is 4600. The hen is 1995. 1995 and 4600 are very, very special birds in the Apodaca family. But one of the things that I'll show you, 1995 is a very henny cock. He's not a very large bird. He's very small. Beautiful bird, produces amazing youngsters, but he really doesn't carry a whole lot of body muscle. From a cock standpoint, he's kind of henny. So what we had to do was I wanted to create birds that had more muscle. So the only way to do that is to put him on a cock bird that carries, a hen that carries more muscle. So I took 1995, or should I say Richard took 1995 and put it on 4600. Now, take a good look at her compared to him. She's a big hen. If the theory follows through, hens dictate type, the youngsters that come off of that pair should follow the hen's type, correct? Okay, so let's take a look at one of the first youngsters that I bred off of that pair. That particular youngster is one of my breeders today. So, that's a hen.
That's a hen.
That is a hen.
Looks like a cock straight out.
I know, and it's a hen. So that particular experiment worked exceedingly well. I got birds that carried much more muscle, and that's a breeder type. One of the things I want to talk about is breeder type and kit type, because they're not the same thing. The birds, and we've always been taught that, you pick your birds from the air that are going to become your breeders. Well, you know what? In some families that works, and that's what people do. I'm not knocking it, not what I do. My breeders are created in the loft. Kit birds fly. Breeders are created in the loft. Just to give you an example, here's a bird right here that was created in the loft that has never flown and consistently produced excellent, excellent birds. This is her parents right here. Now, just to show you consistency, let's look at another set of youngsters that came out of the exact same pair. Clean-legged, this one, actually. There's one of the youngsters. Again, the father, look up top. The father is a very small ephemeral cock. The hen is a larger hen. They followed her type. Here's the nest mate to that bird. Boom. They carry muscle. That's what I was trying to do by putting that pair together, and that's what I do following when I'm going to produce breeders. These two youngsters will never fly. Those are going to be stock birds, and those will end up as my breeders later on in the year. So I'm going to take these two and put them down. So I want to talk a little bit about kit body type versus breeder body type. What should a breeder look like? And why is it important that a breeder, from a cock standpoint, looks that way? So you've got birds that have really slender body types that are going to fly. You have birds that are short, stocky, bulky body types that are going to be your breeders. What's the difference? Why should I breed one opposed to the other? We're going to go through that right now. So I'm gonna bring out a couple of these birds here that we got stashed away. And this cock right here, beautiful red, recessive red cock. And then
So what is this?
that is a breeder body type.
Okay.
That is a breeder cock. A cock that carries a lot of muscle. He'll be bigger than the birds that I would normally fly because he's not gonna fly. Here's another one. This is his son, actually. Breeder body type. Wow. A lot more muscle than, say, a cock bird that is going to be a kit bird. So, you got one kit bird body type.
Look at that difference.
Very slender. Very
Look at that
narrow.
stance. Wow. Compared to
Exactly. Very slender, very narrow. Here's another one. Kit bird body type. Very small, very slender. Tip to tail tend to be even. No wind resistance. Another kit bird. Now, some people will say, how can you pick a breeder body type out from immature birds? And it's funny because I wondered the same thing until I started to do it. Now all these birds here are the same age. Look at this one. Look at the
this guy
difference.
is muscular.
He's solid muscle. You put him in there next to this youngster, and there's a huge difference between them. That is a breeder body type stock from the nest. The other one is a kit body type stock from the nest. Well, not stock, but it's going to go in the kit. Two birds, two different purposes.
Same age.
Same age. Two birds, two different purposes. One is going to be a kit bird, one is going to be a stock bird that I'm going to breed out later. So these cock birds right here, I will take these birds right here. When it's time to breed them, I'm going to breed them on birds that fall into that kit bird body type when I'm breeding kit birds. But when I'm going to breed birds for the stock loft, I'm going to take a cock like this and I'm going to put it on a bird just like that one. That's a breeder type. Those will produce me breeders. So the only birds that I stock out of the air are hens, not cocks. My hens are stocked out of the air. Cocks are produced and made specifically for breeding. That's my body type, and it's based on muscle, it's based on size, it's based on family background and role. It's not just the big bird is going to produce you great rollers. It has to have the background. It has to have the family background. They have to come from a solid stock of performing rollers that have been doing it. And you can incorporate this into that type of family. Is it going to work for every family? Absolutely not. There's some families you find out that this theory doesn't work. It won't work for them because they don't have the background. They haven't been built. The time hasn't gone into the background of these birds to make them what they are.
Give it a shot, guys.
Exactly.
If you guys are not used to this method, give it a shot. Take a couple pairs, use this method, see what happens.
So take your muscle cocks, breed them to little tiny wedge hens like that. That's how you produce your kit birds. Take your muscle cocks, breed them to muscle hens, and that's how you produce breeders. So just to give you an example, there's the whole process. This is what I've been doing, and thanks for coming along for the journey. Please hit the like button and subscribe, tell a friend, and remember, you only know what you know.
Ask those questions, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Definitely.